Dear friend, welcome in the third part of this video series about the Chinese clan system or the family system, and especially then of course with the emphasis on Confucianism. In the first two parts we have talked about generalizations, and in this part we are going to work on more peculiar things. When we look at Confucianism, we can say that the Confucianism as we know it today is based on a few classics, which is called the four books. And these four books that you can see on my side, these are the general outline for later Confucianism. The emphasis there was, like in the Book of Rites where they come from, there was mostly on being polite, being friendly, making sure you cultivated good behavior and to behave according to a certain kind of etiquette. That is why it's called the Book of Rites. And the idea was that you would ritualize your life in such a way that you would avoid the pitfalls of emotional response on things that were maybe not worth the emotional response. When we look at our behavior in general, we can see that in our Western perspective, the genuineness of our personality is recognized very often through our opinions and our emotionality. While in Confucianism, the genuineness of a person is in the ability to both appear and disappear in your behavior. So at the moment when you are polite to a person and you are genuine, at the same time you disappear because you're following strictly the rites, and at the same time you appear and you build substance on being who you are through the dedication that you give to the people around you in your behavior. So even though you are very ceremonial and you greet properly and you show your respect and you do all kind of things to make sure that you are behaving in the right way, you address your wife in the right way, you address your husband in the right way, you address your boss in the right way, everything you do in the right way, the way you behave to your children or how your children behave to you, everything is correct. In that sense, contributes to the need to cultivate what is good about you. And I'd like to give you a very interesting response to that, or example of that, which you can see in modern society. For instance, Islamic girls, very often they are dressed with long dresses, burqas and all kind of other dresses through which you cannot see too much of their body, but in the small parts of their body that you can see, or in the way how they carry their dress, they still show individuality in their style, even though all these suits, they look the same. The way how they look at you with their eyes and so on and so on, it shows as much as somebody who is walking around naked. It doesn't really make much of a difference. In any way or scale that we function, we can create the place for our genuineness. And then you would say, okay, so then what's the point of doing that? The thing is that at the moment when you limit yourself, right? Not then when you're limited by others, although of course Confucianism is a social contract that you have. And for this we have to ask ourselves a few questions. When you limit yourself, you also have to think about the values that you are as a person and that you have to give to your fellow beings. What I learned anyway from Confucianism is that you have to continuously be aware of what you have other people to give. A lot of people, they exist, and according to our Western mindset, you have a right to live because you exist. That's basically it. You are a human because of your body shape with 2 arms, 2 legs and your head, and hopefully you're walking straight up. But the Confucian idea is that you become more human when you cultivate your humanity, and humanity is not just your body form alone, like what we in taiji chuan, in qigong and so on, we practice our body form as a foundation for our nature, but on top of this nature, there is this personality trait that you try to develop through how you react on people and how you allow yourself to be restrained in how you react on people. That politeness creates time to think and to consider and to make the wisest decision. And I remember when I was coming to Wudang Mountains, and I was there in 1999 and I came there in 2000, and when I was in 2000 I was getting really into conversations with people. My sister Li Fang, she told me, well, you cannot forget that Wudang Daoism is based on Confucianism. If you do not understand Wudang Confucianism, you cannot understand Wudang Daoism. It's the same. Of course, there's also the Longmen school and the Zhengyi school, and they come with their own traditions from different cultures. But even in these forms of Taoism, there is a large role for Confucianism, because this etiquette, this behavioral thing is very important. And this is also why some heroes, some xian, some immortals, are so entertaining, because they fall completely out of this ritualized context, like the Monkey King, Li Dongbin. Even though Li Dongbin in effect is like an ultra Confucianist, Qigong, many other people who are falling out of that context. But in a way, they also emphasize the importance of the compliance with the etiquette, while at the same time finding your own uniqueness. That can be your humor, it can be the way how you are kind, it can be your sexiness even, it can be anything that you think that might be of value to your fellow beings as part of being you. So this is chapter 1 from this day. When we look at the vision of our lives in Confucianism, that is all very different from what we do, of course, in the West. We talked about before, there is a division of heaven and earth and the human realm, and we have the different species of beings like the ancestors, the ghosts, the demons, and heaven itself. So within the behavioral aspects of Confucianism, you see that we live in a reality where we as human beings, we live between heaven on the one hand and the ghosts, the demons and our ancestors on the other hand. The ghosts, the demons and our ancestors, they all live in the underworld, and in some cases, ghosts, they actually come to the surface. There is a special holiday for that. And our fates are also being determined by assistance of heaven, like the water god, and Domu, the goddess of time. Domu, the goddess of time. At the moment, when you look at this division, that means that our behavior within the Confucian realm and also in the Taoist realm is based on the respect of all these kind of things. In the Liji, the book of rites, and also in different other Confucian classics, they say you have to be behaving yourself in a particular kind of ceremonial way, but you also have to do your rituals. And your rituals are not like you have to do them every day, because everything that you do every day at a certain point starts losing your attention, and then as a result of it, it becomes disgenuine. So you have to do frequently your ceremonies, but you have to do them completely with your heart open. And you see that when people do ceremonies every day, at a certain point it becomes like driving a car. It doesn't really work anymore, so it becomes dissatisfying. So the morality of it is lost, and that is an essential point within the family relationships, whether it's with the people in your family here around you or the clan around you, or if it is with the ghosts and the ancestors, or with heaven itself. The genuineness is very important, and the morality as a result is also very important. And this morality comes out in 5 different virtues, in which being humane actually is the most important one. Being humane means basically having compassion for other people and understand that their troubles have a cause, and if they behave bad to you, that it has a cause, that it is not something that you have to react on and punish. This of course has great influences on our legal system, punishment and so on in general. If you raise your kids, that when you want to punish them, you have to understand their context and the difficulties that they come across. So punishment in itself is not a solution as a part of educating, like in a Pavlovian sense, where you punish people into having the right behavior. This kind of legalist approach to education also existed, of course, in China, but it was part of the legalist system that the Qin Emperor actually introduced, which led to the unification of China and also helped to establish the importance of the clans. While Confucianism more focused on the internal relationship of a person with its environment, and when it became part of the government, of course, it also focused on governance in general. Then there are four other virtues that are actually very important for Confucianism. One of them is being righteous, and the other one is having propriety. That means good behavior. When you talk about righteousness, you talk about always doing the right thing. So that means that you have to be aware of what is the right behavior. So when we talk about rights, for instance, you have particular circumstances where you say things in a particular kind of way, like how you address your wife, or how do you address your husband, or how you address other people, or how you behave in general, or how you resolve conflicts, and so on and so forth. You have to practice these. Fortunately, everybody can practice these things from childhood because they get a lot of examples in their educational material about behavior. And the other one is wisdom, having wisdom. That means really be aware of how things are being structured and also be trustworthy. When we talk about wisdom, we mainly talk about understanding Tao. And that means that you understand why things are what they are and why things relate to each other in a particular kind of way. And as a result of that, be able to adapt yourself to this Tao and actually comply with it in such a way that you benefit from it and the Tao benefits from it and humanity benefits from it. So in your actions, in that sense, as a part of wisdom is to act in a way that everybody benefits, that you do not only act for your own benefit, which makes sense. When we talk about propriety, it is about behaving in the right way in the way that you observe your rituals. To be trustworthy is basically to be a person of your word. When you are doing things, you want to keep on doing them in the right way so that people can build on you and they can rely on you for actually being the person that you are or doing the things that you do. Like if you're a bakery, you're running a bakery, you're not going to make bread for like 2 years and all of a sudden decide to go on holiday. That just doesn't happen. You can't just close your bakery without making sure there's a replacement. So that means that you become reliable in the sense that you're going to be available to do the right thing. Like in my case, I'm an acupuncturist. If somebody doesn't have any money, can I refuse this person as a client? No. If his insurance doesn't pay, or if I am not having the right papers for insurance, no, I'm still going to be an acupuncturist. So that is just what it is. This is who I am, and this is also why people come to my clinic. When I teach, even though maybe I don't feel like teaching that day or I feel bad, I will still have to give my best. It is trustworthiness. You're going to be there. When there is not enough employ for your work, you're still going to be busy studying to be the best in what you can do. Because, you want to be trustworthy in what you're doing. You want to make sure that your quality of work is always the best possible. Of course, when you're still a student, then you are going to be a good student because that is just what you are. So now we have been talking about a little bit more about Jia. We have talked more about the morality of things and how things relate to each other and what is the role of Confucianism actually in these things, so that we understand a little bit more about Confucianism. I remember for myself when I went to Wudang Mountains and people told me I had to study Confucianism, I was first thinking like, okay, I'm not going to come back here anymore after this trip because Confucianism, I'm completely not interested in it. But my sister Li Fang, when she explained a little bit why that was so important, I was very much interested in Taoism, and that's actually why I came there. And I wanted to study the Taoist part. I wasn't so much interested in the taiji chuan because I thought like, but I already know taiji chuan, which is only half true at that time, I guess. Some elements were missing, clearly. Even though I had a lot of knowledge, there were still some elements missing. And when I was starting to look into these things, and she explained to me a lot of different kind of things, she showed me a lot of things, I became to appreciate Confucius more because Confucius actually said a lot of relativistic things, and I like to think in a relativistic way also myself. Because things are never or rarely ever black and white, and he talked very much about the kindness of people, how they should comport themselves and so forth, without actually saying you must, but he's saying like, this just works better. So in a way, Confucian and his thought was relatively kind. That doesn't mean that Confucianism was always very easy, like in the Qing dynasty, Confucians were like very rigid and orthodox and like it has to be done like this, and they became more like legalist in a particular kind of way. But when you look at Confucianism as a whole, they had a huge civilizing influence. And even in this modern time where you see a revival of Confucianism in China, you see even people walk around in Confucian clothing styles. And at the moment when you look at these things, you see that the modern societies, they lack a certain kind of morality. Everybody talks about morality. Is in China the same? Everybody talks about it, but they always talk about somebody else's morality. And in the clan system of Confucianism, the emphasis is always put on yourself. Even Lao Tzu did that. Lao Tzu, as a Confucian scholar, because that's basically what he was, he said, like, look, you can't blame somebody else for his mistakes. You can only make sure that you yourself are perfect. That is why both in Buddhism, both in Daoism and both in Confucianism, self-cultivation is such an important thing. And this self-cultivation in your behavior is one part of the neidan. And your relationship with your family is one part of the neidan. It was very difficult for me as a Westerner to accept the fact that my family is part of my neidan. Because I was ready to become a monk and just do away with all my family and stay in a monastery. Because, you know, what's the use of family? That was my Western mind, of course. And my sister frequently banged me on the head to correct that. So when we were together visiting my parents, and she started having all these Confucian behaviors towards my parents, and she basically I saw her make herself loved and appreciated for what she was doing. So my parents started asking, like, why don't you marry your sister? Which was, because we are monks, you know, you're not supposed to even think about that. But at the moment when they were saying that, I was like, okay, so this is how easy it is to be appreciated. And who of us do not feel sometimes like, you know, I don't feel appreciated. When you feel appreciated and you have all the behaviors through which people appreciate you, then you have also space to make people see the other things which are actually valuable about you. That is basically what Confucianism says. Is they say basically, if you behave appropriately, you create a shortcut towards doing the things that you want to do. And that is, of course, valuable wisdom. Well, we have one more chapter on this part, and this is based on one of the classics on Confucian behavior. These are the rules, the family rules that were outlined for a particular clan, and we're going to look into that in the fourth one. And I'm not sure if it's going to be next week, but it's definitely going to come soon. Thank you for watching.
This is another one. This is another one. You also do another one then. Yeah.
How long do I stand here?